Life has a way of lifting the quiet ones, the ones who cry in secret, who break silently, who love deeply and lose deeply. And for Margaret, her rise began the day someone tried to break her completely. Margaret was married to Caleb for 7 long years. 7 years of hope, sacrifice, and silent endurance. When they first met, she was a tailor working from a tiny stall behind her mother's shop, stitching dreams into every fabric. Caleb was charming, ambitious, and handsome. He told her, "Marry me and I'll change your life." But life didn't change. Only he did. After 2 years, he began traveling more. After 4 years, he stopped pretending to love her. By the 7th year, he called her a liability. He said she was holding him back. He said she wasn't classy enough for the life he was building. Then one morning, he packed his bags, walked out, and never returned. He left her with nothing but a small bag of clothes and a heart that felt like broken glass. Months later, Margaret heard the news. Caleb was getting married again. This time to Alice, a wealthy businesswoman known for her glamorous lifestyle. What hurt wasn't the wedding. It was the invitation. A formal letter delivered to her door. "You are invited to celebrate with us as we begin a new chapter." The handwriting was Alice's. The intention was clear. They wanted her there. They wanted to show her how she never measured up. They wanted her humiliation to be an event. At first, Alice tore the invitation. Then later that night, something in her heart whispered, "Go." Not for them, but for closure, for strength, for the woman she was becoming. 2 weeks before the wedding, Alice's life took a turn. She didn't win a lottery. She didn't find a rich helper. Her victory came from her talent, the one thing nobody ever valued. One day, while she was working in her small shop, a stranger walked in. A woman in tears. Her designer ruined her wedding gown 3 days to the ceremony. Someone told her Margaret was gifted, miraculous even. Margaret worked for 2 nights straight. When she unveiled the dress, the bride burst into tears, the happy kind. That bride was the daughter of an influential entrepreneur, Mrs. Nelson. She posted Margaret's work online. Within days, Margaret's once silent phone wouldn't stop ringing. Orders, partnership offers, fashion houses wanting collaborations. In 1 week, Margaret went from struggling tailor to viral designer to owner of a brand people suddenly wanted to invest in. But she kept quiet. She told no one, not even her mother. Her breakthrough was still growing, quietly like fire beneath dry wood. Then the wedding day came. Margaret dressed simply but elegantly, a custom satin gown she designed herself. A white shawl over her shoulder. Minimal makeup. No attempt to look wealthy. Just dignified. When she arrived, heads turned. Not because she flashed wealth, but because she walked with a calmness that frightened insecure hearts. Caleb saw her first. His jaw tightened. Not because she looked poor, but because she looked untouchable. Alice walked up to her with a smirk. "Oh, you came?" Margaret smiled gently. "You invited me." Her calmness irritated Alice. Minutes into the reception, whispers filled the hall. Not about the couple, but about Margaret. Who is she? She looks familiar. She carries herself like someone important. Alice noticed the shift, so she grabbed the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said loudly, "please help me welcome my husband's ex-wife, the woman he outgrew." The hall fell silent. Eyes shifted to Margaret, some mocking, some pitying. Margaret simply inhaled, gracefully, deeply, peacefully. But before she could respond, a voice echoed from the back. "Margaret?" Everyone turned. It was Mrs. Nelson, the influential woman whose daughter Margaret had helped. She rushed forward and hugged Margaret tightly. "What are you doing here? Why didn't you tell me you'd be attending? Everyone needs to meet the genius who saved my daughter's wedding." Gasps rippled across the hall. "Mrs. Nelson stepped onto the stage and declared, 'For those who don't know, this is Margaret Benson, the designer everyone has been talking about, the creative prodigy. We are negotiating a multi-million naira partnership with her label.'" You could hear the shock settle like thunder. Caleb's face drained of color. Alice's smirk collapsed. People began surrounding Margaret, asking questions, celebrating her, praising her work. It was like watching God rearrange the atmosphere in real time. Caleb tried to speak to her later. "Margaret, why didn't you tell me you were doing so well?" She smiled softly. "You never asked." He swallowed hard. "Margaret, I made a mistake." She looked at him, her eyes calm and steady. "No, you made a decision. And I made mine. We both moved on." Alice stood behind him, suddenly small, suddenly threatened. "Are you trying to embarrass us?" she snapped. Margaret turned to her gently. "No, my dear. I didn't come here to embarrass anyone. You invited me to witness your joy. I came to witness God's." With that, she excused herself and walked out with grace that silenced the entire hall. And as she stepped outside into the early evening light, it wasn't victory she felt. It was freedom. The world later called her the woman who rose from nothing. But Margaret knew better. She didn't rise because she wanted revenge. She rose because God rebuilt her quietly, far from the eyes that once looked down on her. And when she finally shined, even those who discarded her had no choice but to watch. Please subscribe for more. Thank